Hello, my name is Brian Steinauer. I'm Director of Product Management here at MediSpend, working primarily with our transparency reporting tool. I've been working with customers to provide products that can help with the reporting in the transparency space for life science companies for about 14 years. Today, I'm going to be going through tips and tricks and really how you can remediate your data issues and get to that need of being able to produce those reports more quickly and ultimately saving yourself a lot of stress and energy when it comes time for those busy reporting periods. The first tip that I wanted to go through today was don't wait. Load your data early. What I really mean here is no matter what system you're using, whether it's a manual process to review the data, or whether you're using a tool like MediSpend's transparency solution, load your data. Take a look at it at least on a quarterly basis. That's really the industry standard. We have customers looking daily, weekly, monthly. The sooner you're looking at that data, and the more frequently that you're looking at it, you're going to find huge benefits down the road. It's going to give you more time for doing the type work, compliance reviews from an analytics perspective. Give you a lot more peaceful time when it comes time for reporting, less long hours and stressful nights. Ultimately, you're going to see a lot of benefits the sooner you're looking at that data. A few of those benefits really catching that missing data sooner. So you find data that has gaps in it. Maybe sales reps have missed some information, or a source system is missing data. The sooner you find those, the more time you have to resolve those items that are coming up. Ultimately, again, more time to follow up. So think about a sales rep and information that you have to follow up with them. They may not be easy to get in touch with, or they may not have that information. The sooner you're looking at this, the sooner you can get to them, gives them more time to be able to respond. It allows you to look at those information sooner to when that actually event happened. So in the case of maybe there was an HCP that was at an event. Did that HCP opt out? Was the HCP a no-show? You can ask those questions up front while the events are fresh, and find that information sometimes a lot easier than if you're trying to look at something that happened 10, 11 months prior to that. Ultimately, the main goal here is to spread that work out. The more time that you are spending all condensed at once makes it so you can't have any other things on your calendar. You can't, getting pulled away really makes things more stressful. Um, and sometimes they're just going to take longer because you have more of those things to deal with. You can catch problems early on in this process and maybe correct items at a source perspective if you're looking at this data sooner. And then you won't have to do those same kind of remediations for records that are loaded later on in the process. Set a cutoff date. So regardless of whether you're talking about, um, your own personal things that you have and when you want to get those done, or whether you're talking about, external stakeholders, maybe a meeting planning company or something like that. Set a date for getting your data into the system. Set a date for those reviews. Set a date for any certifications that need to happen. Make those cutoff dates early enough in the process so that you have plenty of time to react after that. Don't try and do everything the last week before reporting. You're going to find yourself running into major issues if one of those processes doesn't happen in the time and manner that you need it to do. Ultimately, the time you're going to take to remediate data, that's going to be significant. We all would love to have perfectly clean data coming from our source systems. It really doesn't happen. So that's going to take time looking at those items and those potential issues, tracking down the missing information and those validation problems that come in with the data. That's going to take a lot of time as well. Final preparation of the report, whether that be and including things like the certification process that you're doing for that, just reviewing for gaps in the information, potentially reviewing issues even when you're submitting to a portal and getting that feedback. All of that takes time, and all of that time adds up. The sooner you can set those cutoff dates in a reasonable manner, and be aligned with your stakeholders, the better. So ultimately, this all adds up, and the sooner that you're taking care of those things and making sure that there's clear boundaries for everybody in terms of when you expect things to be finished and completed, and stick to those, the better off in the long run that you're going to be. Tackle those time consuming things first. So the things that take the most time for you to do are often the things that we put off towards the end of the time, looking at gaps in information, remediating those types of issues. Set yourself up with some reminders. Make sure that you're proactively are contacting your data sources, especially those ones that might be notoriously problematic, from being late in their providing their data or providing gaps in that data. The sooner that you can tackle those items and make sure that you're getting the information you need in the long run, the better. Identify those gaps in the data that you have early on. So if you have a source that's providing or that's missing a key field that's needed for reporting perspective, you identify that early on. You might be able to save yourself a mountain of work down the road from that. Make sure that you are getting and looking at those external sources, particularly for that. So it's the things that are out of your control that end up being adding up and making things much more stressful when it gets to a reporting period. Really especially important when you really look at those items that are late or missing. Those things take the most time. You don't always have the exact source to be able to get the data from. Um, we actually encourage customers to store links with the data that they're bringing into our system. That allows them to more easily go back to source and find the root of those information, to try and help cut down on some of that time. But even either way, the sooner you're tackling those items that are going to take more time, the less stress you're going to find when it comes to time running out for reporting. Take advantage of those tools that are out there that help you validate your data. Waiting to the last minute and loading everything in, we've seen it work. We've seen customers that come in, load all their data very, very late, and they go and do that. We've also seen that cause a lot of late nights, especially in those heavy reporting periods, trying to scramble to find information and everything like that. The more tools you're using that you have to your disposal up front, pre-validating your data, the better. There are certain submission portals that really enable you to load data early without necessarily fully certifying and submitting that data. The sooner you can load that data, get the feedback on any issues that you might have, the better off you're going to be from a reporting perspective. There's tools like CMS in the Open Payments portal has a physician validation tool. Medispend Transparency Solution offers a report that you can pull for this, but ultimately what it's allowing you to do is just take a, a list of your recipients, load them up, and go through that matching process early. It could be 6 months early for some of those recipients. You know who your recipients are in a lot of the cases. You don't want to go back and find out that you're scrambling to find it because CMS maybe has names that don't align or a state license number that doesn't align with their own internal information that they're not publishing. Ultimately, that matching process leads to a lot of things during portal submission that end up being headaches. Loading your data early through those type of tools is going to make you find those problems early. It's still going to have the work to correct them, um, but at least you'd know ahead of time what to expect, and you can make those corrections at the time when you have that extra time. If you do have a reporting tool such as Medispend, we do validation checks the second data is coming into the system, making sure your data is complete and accurate. Those kind of tools are extremely beneficial. They're not the only thing to do out there. You can certainly do things from a manual perspective. Get your data into a centralized location. Look at those issues right away when you're bringing those in, and look at them as far in advance of reporting as you can. It's going to save you lots of time and energy, and make you sleep much better when it comes to those reporting deadlines. Use the data that you have, your historical data, your historical experiences. Use that information. jot it down. Okay, you have sources that maybe were delayed in the past, providing data, things like that. You know where those problems have existed in the past. Make notes of them. Allows you to follow up with them sooner, anticipate some of those issues that might be happening. Use that experience to your benefit, and you're going to find yourself in a much better situation. Take advantage of analytics tools. So look at your data, whether it be comparing this year's data to last year's data. Um, that can sometimes help you find gaps in information. You see a big drop off in, for example, some meals or travel type volumes. Um, Maybe there's a reason for that, maybe not. It gives you the ability to take a look and say, all right, I had this amount of data from these sources in the past. I'm now getting much less data for that. Allows you to look and question that and find that information. This is another big benefit for doing the hard stuff up front and making sure your data is loaded and remediated throughout the year. You can do this analysis much sooner, and you're going to have more time during the reporting period to use those analytics and to look at the data for that. So we have customers that have used analytics to do things like analyze sources, how soon from when the transaction happens in that source system do they get into their reporting tool for that. The longer that gap between that, the more likely you're going to find issues that are more difficult to find. Using those analytics really gives you the ability of finding those issues sooner and really working with your sources to try and reduce those issues before they continue to happen. Put those policies in place. We need to get data within 30 days of an event or something along those lines. It's going to make your life a lot easier from both from a compliance risk perspective and again from a transparency reporting perspective as well. So those are just a few of the tips and tricks that we've seen that's worked very well with customers. We have customers that spend time throughout the year getting their data ready, making sure all the reporting is done. And when it comes to those heavy reporting periods, those weeks leading up to the reports, we've seen countless people come back and talk about how much easier it is from a reporting perspective because they've started to take a look at that information sooner, resolving those problems and looking upstream for what they can put in place to fix. So document the information that you're going through, think through processes you can put in place, and hold yourself to those dates and the times for that. Again, my name is Brian Steinauer, Director of Product Management here at Medispend. Uh, be more than happy to talk with you if you want to shoot me an email. We can talk through any of these issues that you may have had during reporting, and hopefully some of these tips beneficial for you, and you can take advantage of those and sleep better when it comes time for those really tight reporting deadlines. Thank you very much. Have a great day.